There are two ways that we can manage climate change: mitigation and adaptation. Fancy words, but what do they actually mean? Mitigation is all about slowing down climate change, and adaptation means helping people to live with the effects of climate change. Let's find out more about each of these approaches. Mitigation. Mitigation is about releasing fewer greenhouse gases into the Earth's atmosphere. But how can we do this? Have you got any ideas? Firstly, we can use less fossil fuels. At the moment, these polluting fossil fuels, coal, oil and gas, are used for about 80% of the world's energy. Instead of using fossil fuels, we can switch to renewable energy such as wind, solar and tidal power, as these don't release greenhouse gases. Remember, if there are less greenhouse gases to absorb heat, the atmosphere will be cooler. Another thing we can do is buy locally produced food. And I know what you're thinking. How does this help? Well, let's use this apple as an example. It was grown in Somerset in the UK, so it's only been transported about 100 miles or so to reach me here in London. However, this apple from China will have travelled over 5,000 miles to get to me here in the UK. The further food travels to get to us, on boats, planes and trains, the more greenhouse gases are released. So, buying local is better for the planet. You see? Logic. Other things we can do to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases we release are turning off appliances when we're not using them, switching to electric cars rather than petrol or diesel, and insulating our houses so that we need less heating. The list does go on. It's probably worth pointing out that I've made all of this sound very easy. In an ideal world, we would be able to just click our fingers and make all of this happen. But unfortunately, it does take time to make these changes, as so much of our day-to-day lives revolve around greenhouse gases. The problem is, climate change is happening right now, and people are feeling the effects now. So we need to do something now in order to help them. This is where adaptation comes in. Adapting to climate change. There are lots of different ways that people can adapt to the effects of climate change. They can grow drought-resistant crops, which can survive with less rainfall. We can drill new boreholes to reach water trapped deeper underground. We can build houses on stilts so that they aren't destroyed by floodwaters. And we can create flood defences which stop floodwater from reaching communities. However, communities in the poorest countries sometimes need a little bit of extra help to adapt to climate change. This is because they may not always have the money or the support systems in place that they need to adapt. This means that people and the environment are at greater risk and may struggle to cope with climate change. So, what help do they receive? Well, some governments give financial aid, aka money, to these countries who need it. Charities or NGOs like WaterAid also give support to communities who need it. WaterAid helps people to adapt to climate change by providing water services that they can rely on, even during droughts and floods. Because with clean water, people can stay disease-free, keep healthy, go to school, earn a living, and be better prepared for whatever the future brings. How exactly does WaterAid help people adapt to climate change? Well, WaterAid uses a range of high-tech and low-tech solutions to help people adapt to climate change. Let's hear from Basil from Burkina Faso, who's going to tell us a little more about WaterAid's work.
When helping a community to become resilient to climate change, it's important that WaterAid works with the people to ensure that they are resilient to its effects. Being resilient means that they can better cope with the impact of climate change, such as drought and floods. One way that WaterAid helps communities to become resilient to climate change is by giving them training on managing water supply. WaterAid has been working with local communities in Burkina Faso to help them monitor water levels to ensure that they have enough water all year round, even during the dry season and period of drought. They do this by using a rain gauge which catches the rain when it falls and measures the amount in millimeters. The local community will then record and track the amount and frequency of rainfall. If there has been less rain, the locals will know to conserve water so that they don't run out. WaterAid also helps to drill new boreholes into the ground to ensure communities can access clean, safe drinking water. As well as drilling the boreholes, WaterAid also shows communities how to monitor and maintain existing ones so that they are working all year round, not just during the dry season. Finally, WaterAid works with governments and water providers in Burkina Faso to make sure that they are providing people with the water services that they need. By working with the government, WaterAid helps to make sure the change is long-term. It's important to remember that what works in Burkina Faso might not work in other places. That's why WaterAid approaches climate adaptability differently in every one country, and sometimes in every community.
Adapting to climate change doesn't mean we're okay with it. Greenhouse gases are still the bad guys and we're still releasing too many of them. Adapting to climate change means we're able to cope with the effects of it, or, now get ready for another key word, become more resilient. With a combination of mitigation and adaptation, we're able to make a real difference to our climate and change it for the better. Thank you for watching this series of climate films. To learn more about WaterAid's work on climate change and to find out how you can get involved, visit WaterAid's website.